Good morning, folks. In today's episode of Pool School, I am going to finally deliver on what I promised and what you asked for. Today is the first of a series of episodes on pool cleaning systems, and this episode in particular is on stay in pool vacs. So what do you say we hit the water? Alrighty, as promised, today's episode is on stay in pool vacuums. And what I'm going to talk to is basically about how they work, generally speaking. There's two ways that they function. And then I'm also going to talk to you about a few models, listing my favorite and what used to be my favorites, and then also probably what, in my opinion, is probably the least dependable and least favorite of mine on the market today. So let's get into how the vacuums work. Okie dokie. Generally speaking, there are two types of stay in the pool vacuums. And that's what I mean by that is a vacuum that stays in the pool 24/7, and it functions usually when your filter system is running or the pump is running. The first one operates on the return side of your pool, and the other operates on the suction side of your pool. Now, the one that operates on the return side of the pool, there's not many of those out there, but I know Polaris used to make one, and the way those worked is that it would have water returning back into the pool, goes through the vacuum, if you will, and it creates a suction into the opening, and that will help suck up things like leaves and small debris. The problem with those, they don't really vacuum. They don't suck out the dirt, which is really also what you want to have being cleaned if you're going to have a pool cleaner in the pool. So I don't recommend the type that work on the return side, so that's all I'm going to comment about those. The other type is the kind that I do recommend, and I recommend them for most of my pools, even those with pop-up cleaning systems, and I'll talk about that in another episode. But it is the kind that works on the suction side of the pool, either through a dedicated line or through the skimmer suction, which is a conversion, and I'll talk about that in another episode when it comes to converting your pool to a vacuum system. Anyway, let's go back into a pool and look at how the suction type vacuums work. Okay, I am at one of my clients' pools, and you notice there's a lot of leaves in this pool, mainly because we've had a lot of wind lately. And this pool has a dedicated line, stay in pool vac, and actually carries a brand that I like the best, and it's right there, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But this one has a stay in the pool, dedicated line, so that means there's a port right there that the vacuum hose goes into. It stays in there 24/7. It operates when the pool system turns on, and the suction just comes into the system right here through the suction side. Remember the suction side and the return side of the pool? So on the suction side, and you notice this one's nice and clearly marked. This is the port or the suction for the skimmer, and this is the suction for the cleaner. And you notice I have a majority of the suction to the cleaner, and that's pretty common, right? And hopefully you remember the Jandy valve or the valve. It's not this side, it's this side that tells you the further I turn this side this way, the more it's going to shut this off, right? So that arrow indicates which one I'm shutting off the most, right? So I'm turning it, if I turn it this way, I'll be shutting the suction to the cleaner down. But I want to make sure that the majority of my suction is going to the cleaner. I'm going to fire this thing up and put it on quick clean. The system's going to fire up. And again, you'll notice with this vacuum right now, if you look at it, there's something jammed up in it. So that basically is why the thing hasn't functioned. And with these larger leaves, there's a limit to every pool vacuum. This is kind of the limit. It's just not going to be able to handle that big a leaf, which is why you need to maintain your pool and you have a leaf net or a leaf rake for your pool. This one also has an additional leaf canister. Those you can get online. I'm not a fan of this particular one because it's too small and it's a plastic basket and a lot of stuff gets through. There's another version that's bigger and it has a blue netting inside which catches more debris, and that really stops stuff before it even gets to your filter pump. So this is the way a system works, and I'm gonna clear that so you can see this thing moving. Just so you can see, I just pulled all of this out of the opening of that vacuum because it was all jammed in there, and now the vacuum is actually working. You notice it's rolling around the bottom of the pool and it's going to be doing its job. That will function as long as nothing jams it up and as long as the filter is running. And that's kind of what I want, all right? So I'm definitely going to have to go through and net out all this excess debris. But remember, your vacuum is not primarily to vacuum out debris. It's to get the dirt off the bottom of your pool. And you notice how this one turns? This is a great cleaner. We're going to talk about that one in a moment, right? But this is basically how a stay in the pool suction side vacuum works. And then the other option is sometimes they work through the skimmer, right? And we'll talk about that one when I do my lesson on converting your pop-up pool or your non-vacuum or non-cleaning system pool into a vacuum system. So that's coming up in future episodes. I wanted to take a quick detour and just show you the effectiveness of this inline leaf canister. That was the canister that went in that line, and it does a pretty good job. So all of that the vacuum got, but some of those major huge leaves, again, there's limitations to vacuums. Rocks will jam up, big leaves, twigs, big objects, those things can jam up a vacuum. There's no way around it. But just wanted to show you how well that works. And that catches all that before it gets to your pump, your pump basket. Alrighty, gang, this here used to be my favorite pool vacuum. It is made by Barracuda, actually it's made by Zodiac. It's the Barracuda G2. I used to love this vacuum. It wasn't the most attractive thing, but it worked very well, had very few moving parts. In fact, inside there was just a diaphragm, a latex diaphragm, and that was the only trouble part, because if you got a sharp object up it, and that happened from time to time, it would actually tear the diaphragm and you'd have to replace it. But you can get those online, or you used to be able to get those online for pretty cheap. I know people who bought a 3-pack of them for like $20, $30, and so that lasted them quite a long time. And then the only other parts that really wore out on it were the base here. See that little beveled part? Those things would flatten out eventually and turn this whole thing into a suction cup, and then it wouldn't move across the pool. And then the other thing that would wear out or get flimsy is this blue disc. And those were both replaceable. This inside part is replaceable too. But again, I used to love this vacuum, and its predecessor, or the one that, I'm sorry, predecessor? No, the one that came before it, I actually liked even better. It was the Barracuda G2. Problem is, Zodiac, for whatever reason, decided they were going to discontinue the G2, which I can't even find online anymore, and the G3, and just over-engineer the rest of their vacuums. I'm really disappointed by that. But this used to be my favorite. The reason I don't recommend this one or the G2 anymore is because they are discontinued, the parts are getting harder and harder to come by. So, where does that leave you? It leaves you with my favorite vacuum currently. Alrighty, so I told you I was going to show you my favorite vacuum currently, and here it is. It's been the one that I've shown you in this pool example so far on the suction side and how they work. This is called the Pool Cleaner. Now, originally it was made by a guy who patented it, and he used to work for Hayward. He got tired of what Hayward made, which was the Navigator, and which is my least favorite vacuum, and we'll talk more about that later. But he went on his own, created this product called the Pool Cleaner. He created a 2-wheel version like this one for standard play pools, and a 4-wheel version, here I go, 4-wheel version for pools with diving areas or deep ends, okay? And he patented all the technology, made it very simple because the Navigators have way too many moving parts. And basically, the only thing that really needs to be replaced in these is these treads when they wear flat. And to this date, I've had at least 3 years of experience with this product, and to this date I've never had to replace these yet. But I've been told as long as you keep those replaced, if they get flat, especially that little piece right there, they're pretty much maintenance free. The only other thing is inside that opening there's an adjustable, you can get other port openings for that it comes with that do create a bigger opening or smaller opening depending on the type of debris you have. And then there's a pod in there where all the gears and inner workings are, and when something goes wrong you just basically replace that. That's been my understanding, so it's fairly easy to maintain. That without a doubt is my favorite pool cleaner. Now here's the rub. This guy patented all the technology. Hayward came back to him and said, hey, we want to buy this. So he said, you can buy it, you can buy the product name and license it out and everything, but you cannot change anything about it regarding how it works. So So Hayward went and did that. So on the box, when you order one, it actually says Hayward. So Hayward does make their own version of this as well, but because he patented the technology, they were required and are still by law required to keep it the way it's set up. So this is without a doubt my favorite vacuum on the market today. I've had several, in fact this pool used to have that Barracuda G2 that I showed you earlier in this video, and I just converted it to this, and this thing moves so well. And again, you saw all the leaves in there. There's no way any vacuum can really grab up those leaves, but you also saw how much was in that leaf canister in line, and that shows you how much it's really picking up. So again, this by far has been my favorite vacuum for the last 3 years, and I continue to recommend it. Just wanted to show you, like I said, that when Hayward bought this guy out, that's why you see that on the box for the pool cleaner. And this is the 2-wheel version. Again, for standard play pools, that means pools without a deep end. And this is the 4-wheel version, and that's for the kind with a deep end or a diving pool. So just keep that in mind. Just wanted to show you that. And again, Hayward ended up buying it out because it really is a great product. Hey, I just wanted to show you an example of Hayward's version of that pool cleaner. There it is in the bottom of that pool. I'm gonna go around the pool. Excuse me. Got a little chlorine powder in my nose, so it's making me sneeze. So that's Hayward's rendering of the pool cleaner. Remember I said they bought out the guy? So all the inner workings are the same. My client purchased this online. You notice that he's kind of got a mishmash of hoses for it. It came with the gray hoses, and he has plenty of extra gray hoses, but he also had a bunch of blue hoses from his previous vacuum. So, you know, he didn't really care so much about aesthetics. So as those hoses get worn and maybe crack, he just throws an extra hose in. So he just threw that extra one for a little extra reach. And again, this one he's got a leaf canister built into the line that he purchased. And this one also, you notice, goes into the skimmer. And I will talk to you more about converting a pop-up system into a vacuum system in future episodes. But you notice this pool has pop-up heads. And I will do a video on pop-up systems within this series as well. I just wanted to show you Hayward's version of the pool cleaner. And you can get either online. All right, now there is one more vacuum that I haven't talked about, and it's probably the lowest on my list. And again, it's my opinion based on experience that I've had with this particular one over the years, and I just am not a big fan of it. It is made by Hayward as well. It is the Navigator, or some incarnation of the Navigator. My biggest problem with them is that there are so many parts to them that when they start wearing out, you end up having to spend so much time and money replacing the parts because there's so many different kinds of parts for it. And it literally is like a jigsaw puzzle. I think a guy I used to work for said there was over 160 something moving parts in the thing. And again, some of you may like the Hayward Navigator or incarnations of it. I'm not a fan of it. I don't even have any examples of one to show you because none of my clients have it, and a lot of that is due to my suggestions. But given what's on the market today, I just don't think the Navigator or incarnations of it are really worth it. I'm going to put a picture up of it here in a second so you can see it. But again, that's my opinion. All right, this is the current version of the Hayward Navigator that's on the market today. And this is an older version, but it pretty much is the same thing. Really don't care for them at all. So, if I were to choose my favorite pool vacuum that's currently on the market, it would be the pool cleaner, either the 2-wheel version for play pools or the 4-wheel version for diving pools, pools with deep ends. And it's marketed by Hayward, or Hayward's offering of that same product. For the money, I think it's a great deal. I think it's a wonderful product. I wish the G2s and the G3s were still around, but they're getting harder and harder to come by. As far as parts, so I can't really recommend those anymore. There are others on the market. I know that there's one called a Creepy Crawly. I'm not a fan of that one either. Some people have great results with it. I know that I have a client who got a very cheap version of that online, and it works okay. It's not as good. He replaced his G2 with it. But again, my opinion when it comes to spending money on a vacuum, the most expensive vacuum doesn't mean it's the best. But I do think when it comes to the cheaper models, you get what you pay for. So don't go for bargain basement and be penny wise and pound foolish, okay? If you look online, you can find good prices if you're willing to be patient. You can look online and find good prices on the pool cleaner. I've seen them, if you can find one from anywhere from $320 up to $400, those are pretty good prices, but do some comparing and see if you can find something, a good deal on that product. Again, don't be penny wise and pound foolish. You get what you pay for when it comes to the cheaper vacuums. That's been my experience. So I would really recommend the pool cleaner. So my friends, there you have it. That is my video lesson on in-pool vacuums. Kind of talked to you a little bit about how they work on the suction side and some that work on the return side, which is not my suggestion to get. I've talked to you about the type that I like the best, and I hope it made sense. Remember, if you have any comments or questions, please feel free to post them in the section below this video, or if you want, you can email me directly. The email address will come up here. I'm gonna turn my camera here so you can see it down here. KennyPoolSchool@gmail.com. Again, KennyPoolSchool@gmail.com. Please remember to like and subscribe to my channel. And if you have any friends that have their own pool, please remember to suggest that they may be subscribed to this channel too and save a few bucks doing pool service themselves. As always, swim season is upon us. So remember to have fun, be safe, and always watch your kids around water. And I will see you next time.